It's pretty neat the way that Joe with Pat and Jed with Greg and this Joel with his son. It's just it just gets shared through the generations. That's one of the neat things about surfing is that you can do it when you're young and you can do it when you're old.
Yeah. There's few, some people don't want to call it sport, but few activities that you can share through generations of family, and it is pretty special that surfing's one of them. This was one of those sessions where Dane and I were kind of cruising around, not thinking we were going to get anything, and we were looking at this wave, and I was like, man, the light is pretty. Why don't you just go see what you can do, and I'll just shoot a couple, and it'll be one of those just pretty things. And he ended up getting a ton of waves and a few good ones, and I think he was excited that he got to ride one of the boards he shaped, since the other sessions on the Challenger, which is the older board, the Aggressor. But you can see Dane's definitely got a special relationship with the ocean. He's smooth. No matter what size, like the big stuff we tried to shoot, he's just as smooth. But what a beautiful kind of California moment, I think, for Mark and I, these afternoons where it's just the wind's right and the light's warm.
And they're rare. Yeah. They don't happen a lot.
Well, how many do we have in the movie? Over 4 years?
Yeah.
Got about 3 of them. I always love that.
Yeah,
Dane
that's a cool shot.
Looking at some seaweed.
This is at the Surf Heritage Foundation down in San Clemente. They were nice enough to let us in there to shoot some of their collection, which is pretty impressive, as you can see. I mean, they pretty much have everything from the the beginning of surfboards to modern day.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we were talking about this earlier, Mark. This scene's a big cheat because all the boards are in one place. But even in the movie with guys, what they're riding, we really span a lot of different styles of surfboard design through the film, between Fishes and Stubbies, and Tyler up here is riding a balsa board, and
traditional short boards.
Yeah.
Quad fins.
Keith's body surfing. We got everything but a sponge. Needed a token boogie boarder in here. So Tyler, I live near Tyler, and we're friends, and car culture is such a huge part of his life that it seemed like just a really cool thing to integrate in the film. And this is up at the Ventura Speedway, and he was going to take laps up there, so thought it'd be fun to do something completely non-surf film and shoot him in his hot rod. And then this is right out in front of his house really early, and the police actually shut us down. We had grand ideas of getting all these angles and stuff, but it was after a big swell, so all this sand was in the lot, so the guys were just doing donuts on the sand. You could slide out and you can see all the sand in the background.
I love this shot right here.
Yeah. All that sand's normally not there. I think that was actually after Big Wednesday. The South Bay was just closed out, and the water washed up. But it's interesting. A lot of people are interested in what Tyler does, and think of his kind of retro guy. And I think he's starting to show people that it's very thought out, and it's not all retro. It's him trying to advance what was going on in the 60s, and a lot of that interest for him came out of his interest in car culture. And if you look at his boards, the colorways and the pinstriping, it's a cool influence in the car stuff.
And also, I think that the word retro and how it's such a buzzword right now. But I mean, for Tyler, it's not about being retro. It's about really studying a period of time and getting to know everything that there is about that period of time, and really embracing it and trying to take what they had and advance it. And it's definitely he definitely knows what he's talking about and what he's doing. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. which is sort of why we placed him late in the film. You know, he's a guy who sort of backs up a lot of the themes that we've discussed throughout the movie, and has a lot of respect for his elders and where surfing came from and what they did.
And also the tie into, Greg Knoll. Dane goes up to see Greg Knoll, and, Greg is from, the South Bay. I mean, he, as Tyler's saying here, he's one of the guys that kind of paved the way for, for Tyler to do what he does now. And he's carrying on that, tradition of South Bay shapers, Velzy, Jacobs.
A lot of work.
Yeah, this was cool to see. It was cool to see him doing the color work, because he does some pretty intricate stuff, and it's, there's no shortcuts. People wonder why boards are so expensive, and it's like, are they expensive enough, really, for how much time goes into it from, just the design, the research, the design time, the shaping.
I think
it's incredible.
I think he's joked that he makes less than minimum wage per hour because it's so much time. But, between hand shaping and doing all that glassing, it's becoming a lost art, more and more. And, it's cool if there's still some people hanging on to it. This is home in the South Bay, little industry.
The El Porto parking lot.
Yes, some local flavor there. I laugh because, this is my home, and over 3 or 4 years, I think most of the waves that ended up in the movie Mark shot. Which makes absolutely no sense, but I just did not have much luck hooking up with Tyler on the good days.
Yeah, there's definitely luck involved all the way around, just the fact that I hooked up with him a few times and we got it, and then you sit on it, or you think everything's gonna be perfect and it's not, and the days when you're like, oh, let's shoot a couple, you get some keepers.
Yeah.
And this is just, this board is, what is this, the 19?
I think 64.
Early 60s?
Yeah. Yeah, just absolutely ripping. Here was a day where we were both there.
Yep.
That green board, that's the same green board he had in Single Fin Yellow, and now I think it weighs about 20 pounds more because it was all waterlogged. And, Tyler is literally so busy making boards that he doesn't make himself new boards. It really is amazing, Most shapers always have a new board, and that also is part of his personality as far as work ethic, If he owes people boards, he's going to make their boards before he's going to make himself a board.
This is at the jetty. And again, this is one of those days where, this was shot probably about 11:30 noon, which, is generally not a time when you would go out and shoot, kind of midday. But, we hooked up, and it was like, okay, yeah, go out and try for a couple. And it just was nice and glassy, and it's glistening, and you got a couple good waves.
Yeah. That spot has got to be one of the most fickle spots in LA County.
Yeah, it's here with Tyler, with Lance. It's, another opportunity that presented itself, to bring in some of the, some of the older generations into the film. And, the fact that Lance wanted to be a part of it is, we're thankful for that, because it just adds a lot of dimension to it. And, Lance is a legend. Again, Tyler's just such a perfectionist, it's all about gaining that knowledge and just, you can never have enough. You just get, more and more and try out different things. And
yeah, no, I mean, he'll sit and talk for hours about boards or footage he saw in a movie. He'll ask Lance about it, or a photo he saw, and he wants to know the background and the info behind it. And
this is kind of a classic example of that right here,
Yeah.
I mean, he wanted to make a balsa board, and
what tripped me out is I remember he called me to come over and look at it, and then when Mark and I were going through the archival footage, how close they nailed it is pretty amazing, knowing that he didn't have templates. This was, right at the end of the movie, he finished this thing, which is a bummer. It would have been fun to shoot a little more, because now, I mean, he rides this board better than I think he was riding his, foam longboards, and he's claiming he's never going back to foam. He's only riding wood. That board must weigh 35 pounds, I don't know. And then to go from that to this is one of his more progressive longboards. It's, I think it's a diamond tail, and it's, a 9.0, and he throws it around like it was a shortboard. So it's kind of interesting to juxtapose those. This tube was pretty sick. Yeah. This was after actually Big Wednesday. All the sand shifted, and this is a spot that Tyler says he hasn't surfed it since he was like 15, maybe younger, and we kind of scored it on an afternoon, which is also rare in the South Bay. Tyler's hairstyle also changes every other week, which I try to, explain continuity, and it's just a word that doesn't.
I guess over 4 years, you gotta cut him some slack.
Little slack. I think Mike Russ shot that photo. Malibu friend. I was really excited to get sparks in our movie, Mark. Yeah. We got some in the Malloys, but those are
some real sparks there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And again, Velzy, being from the South Bay, was definitely a big influence on Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler was lucky enough to spend a fair amount of time with Velzy, and has told us some great stories of their relationship. And it kind of happened while we were shooting. We got word that Velzy, I think Tyler knew he'd been sick, and when he passed, Tyler called me and said, "Hey, let's go down and pay our respects. I really want to go. I want to bring my Roadster." And I actually, the first longboard, I don't know if I told you this, Mark, that I ever surfed was a Velzy, so I was thinking it would be a good thing to do. And I kind of talked to Mark and Tyler, and I said, well, maybe we should bring the camera gear, just, let's just bring it and see what happens. And kind of thinking that if it felt unrespectful, we weren't going to shoot anything. We wanted to just be there. And what ended up happening was that it was this just amazing congregation. I mean, to me, it says volumes about surf culture and the family aspect of surfing, and that there is so much more to it than just riding waves.
Yep.
And kind of as when we got there and saw that there were thousands of people and a lot of media, we didn't feel bad about shooting. And we ended up speaking to some family people who were very supportive of us documenting it for the movie.
And it is, I mean, more than any other moment in this movie, I mean, the fact that this happened while we were making the movie really sort of cemented the story, and any questions that we had about, like, well, how is this going to fit in, or this going to fit in, it all really kind of fell into place around this event, Velzy's passing, because as you can see here, a lot of the people that we have in the film, were there, and like Jason said, it's about paying respect, and all these amazing people that have had an influence on California surfing,
right.
and have influenced the younger guys, and it really brought that home.
For those who don't, I mean, Robert August was there earlier. We were seeing Herbie Fletcher, and there's Mike Doyle. There was Tube Steak was sitting down.
There's Peter Townend.
Peter Townend. Mickey Munoz was earlier.
Bing
Yeah.
Copeland.
I mean, it's the who's who of surfing. And then younger generations as well, you know. I think Bruce Brown coming up here, who was nice enough to actually let us use some of his footage. And then
And all the guys that were
Yeah.
that we were working with in the film already. Jimmy, Joel, Alex, and then they had this the ceremonial paddle out, which was just incredible. I mean, so many people. Donald Takayama and Wayne Rich there.
This is one of those kind of filmmaking moments too, where I heard these musicians, Chris and Thomas, play in a little lounge up in LA, and I remember hearing this song, going, "Wow, that could be really cool." And I think I told Mark, I'm like, I heard this music, and let's just pull it aside. And luckily they're into surfing right now, and we're very supportive of us using their music. And it was, just one of those things where when it came together with the music and what Tyler was saying and this imagery, I think they say one of the biggest paddle outs ever in surfing, to pay respect to someone who had passed. It's one of the filmmaking moments that I'm proud of in this movie,
Yeah.
To have something emotional, I think, is important.
Yeah. I mean, I love throwing kind of that curveball in there, I mean, people think surfing film, and they don't necessarily think they're going to be, taken on this ride and given this moment that's, really a powerful kind of reflective moment. And so, to be able to change gears like that from going, from high energy surf sequences to these really kind of quiet moments it's nice to have that juxtaposition.
And speaking of juxtaposition,
Yes, the storm.
For me being excited about the sunrise sequence, I remember Mark calling me. He's like, "Well, you know what? To bookend it, we should do a rain sequence." And that then put us on 4 years of wet camera gear trying to get rain shots up and down the coast. But the mood of this, the cycle of life, which is, I think something the film touches on. I love it. I could sit and watch this footage with this music for hours.
Yeah.
And subtly, I don't think Mark and I are out to hit people over the head about environmental issues, but it is nice to remind people that that's the way it works. Rain goes in the gutter goes into the river basin, and that ends up at the ocean. So
And here, this last sequence, we go back to the sunrise. The beginning of a new day. So many things just stereotypically end at the end of the day, sunset, end of the film. And, the cycle, like Jason was talking about, the cycle of life, every day the sun goes down, but it comes back up the next day.
And I think what Devin says here is poignant about surfing and the experience of the cycle of waves. Those shots, Devin had the idea about that overpass shot, and we got up early and just absolutely scored the most amazing sunrise ever with that orange sky. And then this was during the fires.
Yeah, we had to match we knew we had that shot.
Yeah, we had to get these.
And then we had to match this into that. So, again, it was one of those cases where we couldn't have asked for more, because there was these fires, and in the morning, normally when the sun comes up, you've got maybe 15 minutes, and then it's too high. But because of the clouds and the smoke, it just stayed that orange light for about an hour, which gave us just enough time to do what we needed to do.
Here's your big Wednesday shot.
Yeah, this is the big Wednesday session with Joel at Swami's.
So while I'm in Sandspit, those guys were down there.
And I think this ending here, this was probably the most difficult thing in the film for us. We battled with how to end this film. I mean, mind you, we had so much material, and and so many shots, you know, like we've been saying all along, like that we just like loved, or sessions that we liked, and you know, trying to wrap it up really became kind of a struggle. We had like 3 different endings, I think, that we were toying with, and you know, one thing that Jason always said was, you know, we really got to connect it back to the people at the end, the guys that are in our film, and you know, so in the end, this just felt right to kind of go to this montage of, you know, everyone in our film mixed in with just some kind of random shots, just surfing all over California.
Yeah, and kind of the curtain call, you know, come out and take a bow.
There's Matt Howard.
Yeah, we sneak in a few of the underground guys through these montage. This little wave Chris and I found, and it was basically a closeout, and he ended up getting a few that ended up in the movie. And lots of birds.
Yes,
Mark and I,
we are big on birds.
That, by the way, is the border. That is the end of California on the north end, which is kind of neat to get that in, and then also having the Malloys go to Mexico. So we are border to border. And that stuff of Alex there, that's a session that is just such a phenomenal session that there's only a few waves in the movie. It's
and this session, we've seen a few waves from that session there at Santa Clara, which was amazing.
It's some of the best surf I've ever seen, and you know, you might wonder, well, why isn't it in the movie? Well, it didn't really connect to our guys in the story. We ended up shooting up there and got some amazing footage, but you know, in the end, we were really trying to document these people and their lives and their experiences, and by showing that, tell them more about life here. Dane Reynolds sneaking in a wave. Again, our One California Day house band.
Yep. I think we were really fortunate to all the musicians that were a part of this film. I mean, you know, this was a big project musically too. I mean, we have a lot of different tracks, and you know, everyone that allowed us to use their music or composed original music for the film.
Yeah, people were very generous. You know, it's an independent film, guys. You know, it's not like Mark and I had some big surf company behind us. It was kind of, you do anything you can to try to complete the vision, and, you know, and a lot of that was people chipping in and being cool, and you know, one of those people right here, Devin Howard, put a lot of time and energy into this, and you know, I think in the extras there's a little more footage of Dev, because kind of as the cut went through, not all this stuff